All right, it's JPEG Raw Photo Review, show number 41. Tonight we're wrapping up the September images. So we'll catch up here quickly. But if you want to enter, because now, even though we're talking about September ones, the current contest is the December contest, which December is our best of the year contest. And we have both the regular group, the beginners group. You can do it right here from our website, which is jpegdraw.com/contest, or the links to the Facebook groups are right underneath that. Just scroll down if I can get there. Yeah, the links are right there, and that makes it even easier to enter. You just go over to our Facebook page, our group, should say group, search for JPEG Raw, the beginner to regular, and the album to post in is going to be right there at the top. So just go right there at the top, and you can post right in there. The rules are a little different for the December one. Unlike the monthly one where you can enter up to 2 images, the December one is a little different where you can enter any image you entered in a monthly contest, and you can re-edit it. And I know somebody has already done that. They took some of the feedback you gave them during the show, AD, edited it, and re-entered it. So you can enter any of those. You know, if you think this is one of my best shots, you can enter any of those. And you can enter another new image that you took during 2018. So unlike a monthly where it has to be in the month, this can be taken anywhere in the year of 2018. And you'll have till the end or the first part. I think we can give you a little extra time into January to enter. And then the judging is a little different. There's links there to tell you how the judging works. There will be some kind of prize. I haven't figured out what it's going to be, but unlike the monthly ones, there will be some kind of prize too. So be looking for that. That's coming up soon. All right, let's get right into the photos there, AD. And we have the first one up. I mean, I'm not even set. From the beginners group, this first one up is from Nancy Smith. And Nancy says, I always thought taking photos of random people could be interesting yet scary if they notice and don't like it. This is from Flint, Michigan. Flint, Michigan has an event every September called Bikes and Bricks. I noticed this woman sitting back on her bike doing her own people watching and couldn't resist taking a photo.
Cool. Yeah, that's I wouldn't have got that from the photo. I know that's not, I don't know if you do, Mike, at all. I just kind of think she's kind of relaxing, hanging out there. I think it's a good photo.
Yep.
But it's an event shot. I don't know, without the context of the event to match it with, I'm not sure it does a whole lot for me as far as, emotion or whatnot. It just kind of looks like she's looking the opposite way everybody else is looking, sort of thing. That's kind of the basic thing that I get out of it. But a lot of times we talk about photos in here, and you'll hear me say like those same things, like I'm not getting that feeling or something. Don't think that that's like anything bad against the photo, because a lot of these photos will work perfect if you're writing a blog and you're writing about this event. That'd be a great photo for that. Mm-hmm. That's an event photo, a shot of someone enjoying themselves, watching everybody else, checking stuff out and whatnot. So if you put this with context, some writing with this, then this photo is going to work great. It's well shot. The color's good. It's tough to get things like those tents in the background not blown out a little bit from the light because of the, they're pure white and the sun and everything hits off those, but it would be fine for something like that. As far as, if we're talking about framed artwork, it's not quite, I don't think it's quite there. Because they have us basically, when you look at a photo and you want to frame it and put it on the wall, it really has to be strong in story and theme, all on its own with no text. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just got to be able to speak. And so we always, when we go out and take these photos, it's so hard, right, to turn off your brain and say your brain's filling in all the blanks, right? So when you take a photo, I think what a lot of people struggle with is their brain is going, okay, there's all this stuff going on and everything is in there. So, okay, I'll take this photo because I like this person on the bike. And then, they show it to somebody else and the other person is, if it's their friend, they're probably right. They don't get it.
Yeah.
Right. Because you were there and your brain poofed all that information and colors in this photo way more glamorous than it actually, shows up on in the digital form or film or whatever. So it's a tough discussion because, you have a photo that's well taken. She's in the thirds. We talk about that a lot. There's a lot going on in the photo. And if we're talking about a piece of art, it's one thing. If we're talking about a well documented photo, that's another thing. So keep that in mind when we're doing these. A lot of times I'll come from the aspect of someday you'll want to sell your prints. So I come at them from an art aspect, but technically, and things we don't talk about a lot sometimes is we kind of skip over the fact that someone took a technically good photo, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that's this. I think it's technically good. Nancy, always, doing this is difficult as far as shooting out. If you want to, think about blending a little bit, some of your famous documentary photographers blended art and documentary together, and that was the magic. Being able to mix the matter of fact shot and with the, with a well thought out background and all that kind of stuff, but not setting it up. It was just showed up. There was the shot, bam, captured it, If you're thinking about that, think about the background. And here in this photo, we have the woman and she's the main subject here, but you captured it right when there was a guy right behind her. And it would have been much more balanced if maybe 1 second past this, he was moving forward a little bit and she wasn't, his head wasn't coming right out of her.
I like the guy to our right of her with the Harley Davidson. You got it with the bikes. You already knew that she was at some bike event. Right. The Harley Davidson helps. But yeah, the guy directly behind her, you would like him to pass on.
Yeah, and showing the group of, I think for me, what I get out of the story here. So I was in a bike club for a number of years. I built my own Harley. I was huge into it. And I just got to the point where it was a hardtail Sportster 1250. And it was a chopper. So it was not the most easy thing to ride. I had the 16-inch ape hangers. So, my arms were like this all the time when I'm riding down the road.
There's like 7 different versions of you.
I got some photos, man. So I like to live life, man. Yeah. I like to go out and do things. So one of the things about the culture that was difficult was, so when you're in a bike group, and we won't go too deep into this, but when you're in a bike group, you have just normal guys. We go out on the weekends, we tool around, we make a little tour, stop for ice cream. It's a big joke, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're big tough guys. Stop for ice cream, right? Yeah, well, hell, we are. Yeah, so ice cream's good. So we all roar in our big motorcycles. We get out and say, "Can I have a single scoop of vanilla, please, with chocolate sprinkles?" So we used to always make. I mean, that was a great group. It was called the Southern Tier Cruisers, and we went all over the place. And at one point, I was approached by someone else in another group, in a private bike group. And they were like, we'd like to have you in our group, serious, like real serious in my face. Like, your wife, she can't be in the group until we allow her in the group. I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah. I don't think so. I said, she goes where I go,
right?
Or she goes on her own. And I said, she probably can ride a bike better than most of you guys can. So, no, thanks, but I'm going to pass. And I think this photo, what it does for me is it kind of, you got all the guys, hanging out, doing their guy things, but you got this pretty badass lady sitting here, just kind of chilling. And I think that's what this photo, like from a biker standpoint, there's that real divisional line in biker groups. And so I think this is kind of a cool, especially this time of life and era that we're in right now, where, we would like to see more ladies out there and more presence. And so I think this is a very cool photo in that respect. So, and I don't think there's much more to say about it unless you have something, Mike.
I just want to say that, shot. Nancy, I think she said this, and I think she's saying this in here, that, she's wants to take these kind of people shots, but it's a little intimidating to take shots of people. I got to imagine in a biker group, if you're not used to that environment, that may be even more intimidating. But lots of bikers,
Right.
like I'm sure if we'd have came across AD in that time frame, there's lots of bikers who are just normal people, who are nice, normal people, and you approach them, and some of them wouldn't mind you taking photos of them. And there's a lot of, I like character in a person's face.
Yep.
There's a lot of
Yep.
character in some of these guys and ladies' faces, and it would, it's a good opportunity, a lot of photo opportunities there. So I want to commend Nancy for going out there and doing that and taking photos here.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most important takeaway. Nancy does not do anything like light. Most of us would be like, well, we'll head down to the senior home and take some photos where we won't get the snot beat out of us if someone doesn't like us. But no, Nancy goes to a biker rally and is like, yeah, I'm just gonna go around taking photos and see what happens. So yeah, so definitely some kudos there.
All right, well, thank you, Nancy. All right, up next is this image from Christina Benge.
Hey.
Christina says, I woke up this AM to a giant like this could catch my dog in it. A spider web on my deck. It was shimmering in the morning sun with dewdrops all over it. I first checked to see if there was a 6'7" spider who lived in it, which I do not like spiders. Once I saw he wasn't home, I grabbed my camera and captured this. I got to admit, it's beautiful in the sun, but I hope the spider moved along to a mansion far, far away.
Well, I'll tell you, Christina, this is a beautiful shot. I like the light here personally. I think it's real pretty. My only concern is anytime I see a web like this and no spider, I'm like, where is it? Where's the spider?
Yes.
But no, I think that's cool. One of the cool things you can do with this, a lot of times, this looks like that it was a fairly non-humid, not a lot of dew, is grab yourself a little spray bottle. Because it's really tough to knock these things down. They're really strong, and take a little spray bottle and spray the web, and you can get the big droplets on there, and that's really dramatic with the light behind it. But I love the color and everything. I think this is a great photo. And
I love these kind of spider web shots. I don't like spiders, but I like the spider webs. Yeah, and she completely, edge to edge is the spider web.
Right.
I like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like it a lot. This is a cool shot. And I don't know, it's kind of an art kind of shot. It's spider webs are when you find one of these that's built this well, it's usually pretty difficult to find them still intact. Mm-hmm. So, oh no, she said she sprayed Raid on him and he is no more. Poor spider.
Hey, you know what? You venture too close. All right.
Jeez, I mean, that's Mike. I just want to say the ladies are starting out really brutal tonight. I mean, first a biker thing, and then
attacking spiders.
Exterminator. Yeah. I mean, geez. Yeah. Suddenly our Fallout gaming doesn't seem that bad.
I need Nancy, Christina's number so I can call her in to come take care of my spiders.
Right.
Hello, Molly. Molly's out there.
Hey, Molly.
All right. So you ready to head to the next one?
Molly's my neighbor, believe it or not. She's just up the road from me, about an hour. Yeah.
Well, hello, Molly. All right.
Molly has seen me. Molly has seen me on my motorcycle. Yes, Molly's seen me on my bike. So in fact, I think maybe that might have been the first time we drove up and met her. She lives at this place called Sodas Point, which is a beautiful lighthouse up in upstate New York. And I think she does remember me on a motorcycle, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, she says.
Yep.
All right. Next is this image from. I got the names all mixed up.
Millen.
Yeah. I got the order of my names mixed up. I got the order of the photos mixed up. I'm totally messed up. All right. We skipped ahead a couple photos there, AD. We'll come back.
That's all right, man.
All right.
Sure.
This one's from our friend Millen. And he says, these grapes are known in Bulgaria as Viola. Hey, that's the last name of my sister. After she got married, Viola. I think it is related to Italian sort. Yep, she married an Italian. It is very delicious, but I prefer it was wine. Why I took this image? Well, at the end of this month, we'll gather the grapes to produce wine. So I thought, thought it would be nice in addition to my images to have some more grape shots.
Nice.
Then he goes into the settings.
Yeah. I think Yeah, you did skip a few on me. Wow.
I know. I'll come back.
So yeah, Millen, I like this a lot. You've got 3 bunches of grapes there. I think is cool. My question on this photo essentially came down to toning and your crop on it, because it seems like it's like an ultra wide crop. It's not, it looks like it's maybe 16 by 9 or so, which is odd for me. It just seems like there's like, I want to see that 1 bunch of grapes maybe a little bit more towards the edge. So you can almost chop that leaf right off of there, because I'm not sure it's doing much for you. And the green in the leaf is kind of what's bothering me with the tones. I usually like to take shots like this, Mike, and I don't know if it's up to you, but when there's sun involved, I like to work a little on the warm side of the white balance, and just simply to give that warm, sunny feeling. And this seems just a little cold to me, and I don't know if you're getting that as well, but it just seems like it's a little bit on the blue side.
Yeah, I mean, the grapes are blue, so I wouldn't want to go, personally, I wouldn't want to go too far with the warm.
Well, I don't think that they would change all that much, but the light is white.
Okay.
So the light on the grapes, yeah.
Right.
And I just wonder if it would if it would be a little bit more inviting, make you want to grab one of those things if it was a little bit more on the warm. And his story is that it was right in the sun.
Yes. Didn't you say that?
I think so.
Maybe he didn't say that. It was Christina who said that, I think, in her shot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and this is one, if they'll allow you into the vineyard, which I've been a couple of times, upstate New York in the Finger Lakes wine country, we have a lot of vineyards here, and it's a lot of times they won't let you anywhere near the grapes. I mean, it's just you're not allowed anywhere near them. Right. So, but if you are, if you can, if you have some that you grow yourself, or they have sometimes they'll have like a little vineyard that's there purposefully for people to go out and pick some of the grapes and eat them. But then the production grapes are grown, in a field that you can't go near, just for contamination purposes or to hurt the vines or anything like that. They're very careful with that. So, and I think that Christina says that too. I think it does come down to the light for me. Christina is a little harsh on the image, and that's kind of why I would kind of warm it up. Generally, if you play around with the white balance slider, it's really interesting, but you can gain a lot of exposure by moving the white balance over to the yellow side a little bit without making it too yellow. Mm-hmm. You can experiment that. Yeah, the light is a little harsh. I'm not sure. Did he use a flash with this?
He did not say if he did.
He did a lot of cloning work, he said, on it, and that's cool. I do like to, to clean it up sometimes. That you don't want to see any rotten spots on the grapes and that. I will tell you guys too, if you like shooting grapes, some of the most beautiful time for grapevines is actually in November here in the Northeast, really? Where the grapevines turn a bright red to orange color, and it's they have their own autumn, but it's very late into the cold season when they start to change. It's really brilliant. So if you ever miss peak week and you can go someplace where they have climbing grapevines or anything, that it's just absolutely gorgeous.
Well, it's making me want to have some grapes. I mean, these are
for sure. So it does work. That's right.
All right, let's head back to the order we're supposed to be in.
Yep.
Which is this image here from Daryl Harrington.
Awesome.
Yeah, now we're back on track. All right, Daryl says, while on my annual trip to New York City on 9/11, I remembered these railings that have various phrases on them. Low clouds were muting the tribute lights, so after a crowd moved on, I turned to Brooklyn Bridge and did a little light painting. Nice. On various words along the fence.
Yeah, this is in Dumbo, so... which is a little park it's down in Brooklyn, and I've been here a million times. And it's Mike, if you ever get a chance to get up here, and I think that you and Tim and I, because I saw that some people were interested in this happening, I think you, Tim, and I should meet up in New York City.
Yeah, y'all can show me around.
Yeah, and I've got family in New York City, so I have some place to stay in Brooklyn, and we can show you around Manhattan. We can take you over to Dumbo at night. There's a beautiful carousel over here. It's amazing. I know of a couple of areas where you can get some very unique shots of the Freedom Tower between the spires of the bridge just perfectly, and
Wow.
this is a great park. And I've been in this park at 3 in the morning, and it's just never an issue down there. It's just amazing, and really cool place. My question to Daryl would be: I think this is a beautiful photo. I love this area. I have to admit,
Hmm.
New York City is one of my favorite cities. Um, I wondered about the crop. Does the crop seem like a little like too
Square,
traditional?
like very
Well,
square.
it's almost, yeah, it's very square, and it seems like it was chopped up, and I'm not sure.
If there was
Um,
something over on one of the sides that he had to do that for.
Maybe. I don't know. But it does. So when we use a wider crop, it gives us a more kind of epic feel.
Hmm.
And this is a very epic shot, and it's beautiful, right? But I can't, he's got everything in it nice, and maybe he cropped it this way specifically for a print, a traditional crop print. I'm not sure. It's just I'm not used to seeing it.
Yeah.
That's probably my only comment. But a beautiful night shot. It looks like he shot this probably. If you beginners are out there, you notice that there are some stars that appear on all the lights. If you shoot, usually at about f8 or higher. Usually I try to shoot a little higher, long exposure. You can get those nice stars to appear around all the lights, which are always nice to
Hmm.
see. But yeah, you did a great job here. I don't know, maybe Daryl, the f-stop that you were using, I'm not sure,
He
but
didn't say.
you,
Yeah.
yeah, you might want to focus stack if you do one of these shots. And because the sign to me, when the words, starts out at BEA in beautiful, that area seems to be a little out of focus.
Okay.
And so a little soft in there. So I think that, and that might be just because I'm looking at it on this screen and the way it is. So
It's hard for me to
um,
tell because it's a hole, and you're seeing the river behind it too, which gives me
yeah,
a
that's
weird.
in focus. But so look at the bar above the B, and
Okay.
that the glare on the bar looks way out of, like, real soft to me. And then the end of the bar, the fence or whatever it was there, the gate, that looks like that's in nice and focus in there. So, and it can be hard, especially if you're doing like a long exposure or whatnot. But capturing a few extra frames, right, can sometimes, just make all of that be in nice and focus for you. And it's definitely a big part of the photo. But I think it's cool if it's a little out of focus. He might have wanted it that way. We don't have a whole lot of context here.
True.
Um, People are telling stories about how they got to the place that they took the photo and the settings. That means nothing to me. I'm sure you got there and you used the settings, but tell me why you did this composition this way, or tell me what your thoughts were on processing the color. That's what we can help you take your photos to the next level. If I don't know that, I can just tell you what I would do.
We can just assume why we think he might have done a square crop like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what assuming does. So
Yep.
I can, so take it with a grain of salt, Daryl, because we don't know. And again, we say this every show, but I'll say it again. Feel free to reach out to me on my website. We'll talk about that a little later,
Mhm.
about how you can do that. Y'all want to send me some photos and have me process them and make you a video, we'll do that too. But that way I can connect with you directly and we can talk about what you're going for, maybe accelerate your photography to the next level. And it's not because, and keep this in mind too, I don't automatically think I'm a better photographer than you, and that I can take a better shot than you and guide you towards making that shot. What I am is a really good person to motivate other people to do things, and so I put ideas in people's heads to help them get over their creative blocks. It makes me no better than anybody else, other than the fact that I have the talent to be able to do that for people. So I don't come at it like, oh, my photos are way better than anybody's. That's not how I look at it.
Mhm.
It's really, I just have the ability to see where people have like a roadblock, or they're running up a creative roadblock, and I try to not remove the roadblock for them, but give them a way around it or over it. That's the key. So a lot of times when I speak with confidence and try to instill that in people. Even you, Mike, I think has said to me a couple of times, "Oh yeah, I heard your voice in my head when I was." And so that's the whole idea, right? Is that and I've even had students tell me they hate that. They're like, "Yeah, I used to enjoy taking photos, so now all I can do is hear you in my head." And I said, "Don't worry, it goes away. Don't worry."
Even tonight with Millen's grapes, that's the first thing I thought when I looked at it was, three sets,
right?
And I got that from you. I learned that from you.
Yep. So keep it up, Daryl. Everything I've seen. From all you guys, not just Daryl, but I mean, it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway, that, everybody who submits photos to this group is amazing. So I've never seen someone submit, and I know you guys will do it at some point. You'll submit something that's like really horrible and you'll expect me to try to pick something good out of it. So, but yeah,
all right.
Keep it up, Daryl. Good stuff.
Up next is this. Yep, I'm on track. This image from Jose. Get his name.
Matutina.
Jose Matutina. I wasn't going to say it. And he said, I felt that I was not photographing enough portraits, so I went to a Civil War reenactment in our area. I'd love to go to one of those someday. I've never gone.
That's great.
Yeah. Yep. I might have stepped down too much. I might have stepped down too much that I haven't blurred the background enough. Anyway, I love the way she looked engrossed in her work. In her own world, engrossed in her own world under the tree. Vignetting was applied at post, and then he goes into some of his other settings.
Yeah, first off, Jose, beautiful photo. Creatively, can I give you any creative suggestions? I wouldn't have worried about stepping down for the background as much as the basket in front. A little bit, but that's okay. She's the story here. So the basket's cool the way it is. I like the bokeh the way it is in the background. I don't think it needs to have any more. With me, though, I will tell you two things with this photo that I think would help it a little bit. The branch going through her head is one of those things I tell everybody, watch your backgrounds, man, because they will come back. And I've gone out and taken beautiful photos of people only to find out when I'm processing that I'm like, oh my God, I didn't see that post sticking out of the top of their head. It's just like, why didn't I see that when I was there? And so now I consciously, look at the person's face, and then I don't look at them. I look at everything else but them to see if anything else in the photo is trying to override or make a mark or anything like that. This is a pretty powerful photo. I think with a little post-processing, he could have maybe taken some of the light out of that branch and it wouldn't have been as highlighted in the background, and maybe this would still be fine. The other thing for me is I would have probably muted the color a little bit. If this is kind of like a period photo, so, she's in period dress and all that kind of stuff. The thing that takes us out of belief of that is the full rich color, which wouldn't have been available during that time unless it was like a painting or something. So for me, I kind of would have looked at maybe sepia tone or maybe a tintype kind of process to make this more kind of give that period look to it. Other than that, it's a beautiful photo. I mean, excellent job with the focus. Everything looks good. Caught a good moment. Just that background, man, be careful. It's
that's something we all have to look for, because I make that mistake too. It's so easy to not see it in person. Yeah, you get so focused on all the other things you need to do, and you miss that. And it could have just been bright out, or whatever else. You see all this bright stuff behind you, and it may not have been noticeable when you looked at it. But I would think that when you looked at it on the back of the camera, you might have seen it. So I don't know. Yeah. It's easy to miss.
Yeah, it is. And so, you think about when we look in our camera, we're looking for focus. So we're looking at our subject, right? And that's the thing. Right. And that's what's like pulling us away from that background. We're constantly, we're focused on our subject. That's the, that is what we do. So it's very hard to make sure that all the supporting actors in the backgrounds and the foregrounds and everything are basically playing along with your idea of the photo because they are constantly trying to screw up your photo all the time. So, yeah.
People always trying to photobomb you, or things trying to photobomb
that's right. Yeah, you got that right. Keep it up, Jose. This is good stuff, man. I like it.
Yep. Okay, next is actually another Jose photo. It wasn't supposed to be in this order, but I messed up the order.
You do this on purpose.
So here's Jose again with his second entry. And this is obviously an infrared shot. He says, taken with an infrared converted camera of the Mission San Juan I don't know. I'm not going to be able to say that. Capistrano.
Yep. It's where the swallows come back to, Mike.
Really?
Yeah, the swallows come back to Capistrano. I'm old, dude, so that's how I know things like this.
I got to be your age. Come on.
It was a famous movie, black and white movie.
I don't remember that.
Okay.
It was a sunny day with hardly a cloud in the sky. So, and I like infrared with clouds in the sky. So, you know, that's bad there. I mean, it's not bad, but you missed that. It was a sunny day with hardly a cloud in the sky. So I took out my converted Sony A6000.
Yep.
And then he goes into some other settings with this. But yes, so this is an infrared shot. Obviously, did he say it must have been an ultra wide angle adapter?
Yeah. Yeah. And so this is a good example of submitting a photo without telling me anything to help you out, because this is a false color process. You swap the red and blue channels. If you're not familiar with the way infrared goes, when this comes out of the camera, generally it's just a red mess. Yeah. I mean, that's generally what it looks like. Right. And what you'll do is first you want to swap the red and blue channels. And there's actually a plugin for Lightroom now that does that. You used to have to just go into Photoshop to do it, but you can do it in Lightroom now. That'll swap the red and blue channels. And then it also moves the red and blue channels outwards away from each other. And then you set your white balance on whatever was green in the image. And that will, all of a sudden your photo will pop and you'll have your false color image. This looked like it probably was around 700 nanometers. I have a similar camera that I converted myself.
Skype just crashed. Like it just hung up the call over here, but it was still over there.
Yep. Everything's got all software has a mind of its own, folks. We're just days away from Skynet. Just telling you, so you know, from what I've experienced. Over. Yeah.
You know, I hate robots.
Yeah. Anyways, it's
inside joke.
That is a very inside joke. All right. Anyway, this is a good example of like if like I said, if you got an old camera, the reason why I say keep it and get it converted to IR, and Mike, you have this as well, is when I get in a creative slump, man, and especially because it's a great noonday camera. It works really well when there's bright sun out. In fact, partly sunny days are beautiful with the clouds, and you can get that light on all of the chlorophyll in the leaves comes back as a white instead of green. And it is just such a fun thing to do. I mean, and you don't have to worry about not getting enough light half the time because infrared is really powerful.
Yeah.
And even in dark situations, you still get quite a bit of light that you don't even realize is there. And of course, it's invisible to our eyes, but through the camera, it's such a fun thing to do. So
yeah, and if not all of us can do what AD did and convert our cameras ourselves. So if you don't want to, none of us would successfully do it. If you don't convert a camera, you have to use a filter. Those filters, though, are going to make the exposure times really long for a lot of it. Because I was having middle of the day 6 to seconds plus exposure times. But I was thinking about my D2X, which is I bought this used back in the day, and it's a great pro level camera at its time, heavy as crap. And I was going to sell it when I was buying a new camera, but the value that I was going to get for it was just nothing. So I decided I'm going to send this off to LifePixel and have them convert it. So I've had this one converted now because I had it converted and not using a filter anymore. All my lenses will work, for one. And two, I have fairly normal exposure times.
Yeah, and so what happens in the conversion, so all of these cameras come with UV and IR band filters. So essentially there's a little piece of glass on the front of your sensor, and that glass has a little bit of a coating on it that does not allow the upper bands of IR or the bands of UV to get into your sensor. So when you put the filter on front of your camera, what essentially you're doing is you're narrowing the bandwidth to only IR. And then when it gets to that other filter in your camera's like, no, that's not getting into the camera, but it can't stop all of it. That's why you had to use the super high. So when they convert it, what we do is we take the hot glass off, which is what that's called. That comes off your filter, off your sensor, I'm sorry. And then we replace that hot glass filter with a IR filter. And basically all I did was I watched a tutorial on how to do it. I used a glass cutter. I bought a 720 nanometer screw-on filter. I cut it out to the same size as my little hot glass filter, and then stuck it on the front and put the sensor back in the camera, and boom, you've got an IR converted camera. When you send it in to do, they're doing the exact same thing. That's exactly what they do. So I had the thing is my camera was not working. So I was like, the LCD doesn't work. I'm going to tear it apart and see what I can learn.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? It's not going to work because it doesn't work anyway. So I had nothing to lose. You're not going to want to do that with a working camera. LifePixel is like, they're great and it's not expensive. And in fact, they just did a deal for like, I think $250 to convert a camera.
Mine was in that range. Yeah.
Yeah. So they always do deals around Black Friday every year with that stuff. So, but yeah, it's pretty cool and a lot of fun. And man, when you're feeling like you got no inspiration or it's, the middle of the day and you're like, man, I haven't had any cool weather or anything like that. I can't go out and shoot portraits or what have you. You can take your IR camera out and just get some like fantastical, crazy looking photos.
It's a fun thing to do. Yeah.
It is very fun. And this
really
is great.
Different.
A great use of the ultra wide here. I like the tall palm trees and the old chapel there in the background. It's very cool, Jose. And this is, IR is a lot of fun. My friend Lynn Wazicki does amazing IR photos. She does them all the time and does a really nice job too. Very good stuff. And submit more. We love IR. But tell me when you submit them why you chose to do like false color with the yellow instead of all of the greenery being pure white. You kind of went with the false color of the yellow, and it might just be what you like, and that's cool. But tell me that because I'd be interested to know. IRs can be processed a million different ways. You could make those trees pink if you want to, so you can do some really neat stuff. We'd love to hear and see more for sure.
All right, thanks, Jose. Next is this one from Gina Clark.
Gina!
And Gina never gives us much information. She just says
awesome like that, isn't she?
She is. The unknown princess is all she tells us here.
Very unknown because I don't know anything. It's a gorgeous little photo here in gorgeous light. I like the light coming in.
Into the window, yeah.
Yeah, I like the black and white. For me, Mike, there's the one issue that I had with this photo was the hand position was a little kind of wonky, and then the one hand is sort of cut off. And also she is centered in the photo. So I did a little editing. Would you want to share a screen and I could show you just my quick edit that I did, and maybe Gina will see this and have her see if she's inspired at all?
Sure. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Let me know
this
when
is
you're ready.
super. Yeah, I'm ready to go, man. So
wait a second then.
You got to do the reshare thing. Yeah, because we got cut off. I'm sorry.
Don't you have to show me your screen?
Oh, do I? Oh, I thought we set this up earlier. Oh, we did, but then never mind. We did that. We didn't because we got cut off. All right. So yeah, let's do that. All right. There we go. That might be nice if I sent you a feed, right?
Yep. Okay.
I'm sorry it's not perfectly centered, but for some reason it doesn't want to go full screen. So yeah, it's just a typical mind of its own. So I just pulled this into Photoshop really quick. Super simple here. I'm just doing one thing, and that's a crop. And Gina, this is kind of what I mean. So all I did is Let me see. Yeah. It's doing like it's doing its own mindstorm of things here. So I'm just gonna do it from scratch. So I just have it set on original ratio because I like this format that she has here with the original shot. And I know this seems kind of drastic, but just follow with me here just real quick and I'll show you what I'm doing. All right. So if you notice, I'm bringing this 1/3 mark right on her eye. And I'm doing that on purpose. And also I'm going to tilt it a little bit because this window frame is tilted. And again, anytime you tilt anything like a window in an image, it automatically makes it makes the image tense. So we don't want any tension here. This is not a tense image. So I know this seems very drastic, but if you don't, I feel that the image has much more power like this. Like it's now drawing me into her emotion more. Mm-hmm. And she's got negative space. I still get the light coming down from the top nicely. And so I just want to encourage Gina to think about not having your subject centered in the middle of the photo so much. Like use that background and that space that you have. She's looking towards the light or looking towards the window, and the light's got that nice cast on her. And so I just felt that had more power, and wanted to share that with Gina because I know she always pays attention to all that stuff. So
mm-hmm. I don't know. I know to do that. You have to put the eye. That puts the eye in the third, but it seems a little bit tight to me.
Yeah, and I'm basically what I'm trying to tell you is this is not what I would do to this photo.
Yeah,
is I would have shot it differently, okay. Like so that there was more of negative space versus your subject rather mm-hmm. than negative versus your subject. You have negative space up top, side, yeah. Negative here. You literally have your subject surrounded by information in visuals. And when you take that away, this might not be the desired too close shot, but I'm showing the composition as, if you would have put her, and I can't move her, but if I would have moved her to here in this shot and left everything the same, distance, everything, but just had her over here in the third, this would have been, we would have just been drooling over the shot and gushing and saying, oh, this is amazing, rather than giving this suggestion. So that would be my only suggestion is just always be real careful with targeting, what I like to call targeting your subject. Generally, when you put a person in the middle of the subject, it's a headshot. Headshots generally didn't have fancy backgrounds in them because it's a headshot. You only need to see the face and the shoulders and the upper body. We don't care about the background. It's usually some, gray wash or something like that in the background. But here we have an interesting background that plays well into the story, yet it's fighting with the subject because it doesn't have its space to breathe along with the subject's space to breathe. And so we got to be careful with targeting our portraits. It is a thing that happens a lot if you don't have a movable focus point in your camera, because people will focus on that center point on the eye and they won't move their camera. The trick is to hold your shutter button down halfway so that your focus holds, or some lenses have a focus hold button on the side of the lens so that actually you can focus, hold, move to get your composition, snap the shot. So that should be the move.
And you can do that with back button focus too.
Right.
As long as you're not changing the plane.
Right, exactly. And so that's what you want to be thinking in your head is focus, compose, shoot. Focus, compose, shoot. Instead of just compose, shoot, or focus, compose, shoot without the compose in there. So just focus, shoot, which is what a lot of times we do because we think we don't want to move, we don't want to miss the moment, Mm-hmm. And so always remember to put the composition in there. And keep that strong. And that's all I'm trying to show. I would not have shot that as tight as well, Mike. So it was just more to show how, you move things around in the image a little bit. And I didn't have time to actually content aware move. And
No, I get it. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, one more image, and there's no Mike image this time, so we're just gonna do one more image.
Mike didn't have any time to submit any images, folks.
Why did Mike not have any time?
I don't know. He's preoccupied with other things.
Preoccupied. Yep.
And
it's all my fault. It is my fault.
Looking for missiles in Sears. That's what I
Lowe's.
saw.
It was Lowe's.
Oh, was it Lowe's with Craftsman now in Lowe's? Okay.
Oh, that's right. I didn't even realize that was Craftsman. Yeah. Okay, this shot up from Norman Schultz. And he says, lift off, just working on my birds on an overcast gray day. I gotta tell you, if you're into birding, taking bird shots, these big birds, these cranes like this, are great opportunities to practice on the birds in flight. They're big, they generally are not flying too fast when they're taking off and landing, and they're, if you're in an area where there's a lot of them, you can get a lot of practice shooting back and forth. So Norman, I would say keep doing that, keep shooting at them with your camera, and you'll get better and better as you go. With that said, a few things here I can tell. Probably, I think because it says overcast, he probably had to bump the ISO up quite a bit, and even then he still didn't have enough shutter to freeze it, which is not necessarily bad. But you like to see
a little motion in the wings. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, the thing for me is I think he caught some branches or some foreground.
Yep.
And you can see them as some of those little gray areas or whatever it is toward the bottom. One I'm coming up by the legs, and one in the water splash to the right of the image, and then a little bit to the left. So that was you're probably where you were. You're panning, and you just caught it at that point, and you got some of those branches in there. It's going to happen. It's not when you can really do about it. If they flew right there, you just have to wait for them to take off again and take another shot.
Well, yeah, and so let me shine a little bit of light on Norman's situation. So this is a great blue heron. We have a nesting pair in our backyard, which is awesome. But no matter what you do, you cannot get remotely close to these birds.
Yeah.
They barely move when they're hunting. They will, if they're very interesting to watch, they will pick up and move very slowly, and sometimes they'll freeze in mid-movement as they're stalking a fish or a frog or whatever. But they have very good eyes. And I can be in my house, no problem. What I'll do is we have a pond in our backyard, so I'll leave by the front door, very quiet. I'll slowly make my way around. We have a little shed out there, and I try to keep the shed between me and the bird. The minute I look out around that shed, that bird's gone. That bird's like, I'm out. And they nest there. They're very, very elusive. They're kind of like eagles. Eagles are the same way in the wild. They see you coming a mile away.
Yeah.
And they don't want any part of you. And herons are much like that. Now, with that said, I had an adventure this past summer. I've gotten into kayaking, and we do kayaking now. And we went to a creek at the end of a lake that kind of empties into a bog of reeds and wildlife and everything like that. And we went out into this nature preserve, and there was a heron out there, a great blue. And I literally paddled up to the point where I could almost reach out and touch this bird. And this bird did not care that I was there. I did not have my camera with me because I'm not confident on the kayak enough yet to haul, $10,000 worth of gear out with me. But seriously, if you're interested in getting pictures of these birds close up, there were swan there too. A little bit more dangerous with swans because swans will attack you. Yeah, they're not afraid of human. Yeah, our geese aren't too bad around here. There's so many of them. They're so used to humans. They're just like whatever. But herons are usually very flighty, and you can't get within probably 100 yards of them before they're like, nope, I'm out. They're pretty much scaredy cats when it comes to that stuff. But if you go to a nature preserve where they're used to seeing people on a regular basis, like floating by on a kayak, and they know that you'd have to get out of that kayak in order to get to them, you usually can get some pretty cool shots. And I can't wait to go when the weather gets better now, because I'm going to be able to float right up to these birds and just get these beautiful shots. Now, if you go to like a wetlands area, which maybe he was at a wetlands area, they're still very wild there and take off, but you'll have to position yourself so that you can so you don't have like the trees and weeds and stuff in front of you. So I deal with that here.
There's a place on my walking, if I go to a certain walking trail, where there's a marshy area. So there's a lot of junk there. It's not a good, clean, open space. Where there's some cranes, some of the big white cranes that go there. And every once in a while I get some blue herons, and they typically will stay at the edge where they're not getting too close to you. But I think because they see people so often, they're not quite as skittish around us. But what you have to basically do, you're still going to be a good ways away. And I can't remember what Norman had. I think he had an 18 to 400 or something like that.
400,
It was one of those ultra zooms or whatever that really wide, or maybe it's 80 to 400, whatever. I can't remember what it was, but it's like that. Which is probably an f5.6 or f6.3, something like that, where these guys are generally feeding in the morning or in the afternoon when you don't have a lot of light. So I typically bring a tripod or something to help me with it, and not the birds in flight. You're gonna have a little bit of shutter speed. When they're still and doing something, you can get knock your shutter speed down a little bit. But I don't typically chase them too much. I will pick out a spot and try and stay there, and not move too much, and let them move in toward me.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If they get comfortable with you, it's fine. We live in lake country up here, so the herons are basically, there's a lot of boaters. They pretty much are very wary of humans, and or else they'll end up dead somewhere. So, but they're gorgeous birds, and they're big. I mean, their wingspans are 6 feet or bigger. So yeah, it's pretty cool to see them.
They're fun to shoot. So keep doing it, Norman. Keep going out there and getting these guys in flight. And I've seen some of them land in trees. I never even knew they would land in trees. But all right, Norman, thanks for submitting. And that wraps up for, whoops, that's not the photo I wanted, the shot I wanted. This is the shot I wanted. There you go. So that's the images for September. We'll move it into October, and we need to get through these, AD.
Yeah, it's a busy time of year. We'll just keep going. I think we'll do one next week. We have one per month coming up through December, or is it still?
We may have to cram them in until we do that. We have to do. We've been showing a lot of the photos. I think maybe we'll be more selective and do one for October, one for November. We'll do that.
Cool.
How's that sound?
Sounds good.
All right. Before we head out, don't forget to go over to AD's site. He mentioned earlier that if you want to connect with him and give him some ideas or give him a photo and he can work on it, make a video for you, and you want to connect with him, go over to the explorographer.com, then go to Who is AD? Little link right there. And there's a nice little photo of you. And scroll down, and there's your little contact form. So you can contact AD right through there. He's not on Facebook anymore. But,
nope.
You got a contact form right there. You've got all his, let's go back to the beginning. All your other links are there too. And you got some great articles here. So if you haven't read any of his articles, he does a lot of work, not only in the photos themselves, where he puts a lot of effort into the shoot, but like this one that you did here at the lunatic asylum in West Virginia. You actually give a lot of story along with it. And I love that about your photography. That it's not just a snapshot, or it's not just a photo that you spent time with. You actually learn something about it along the way. And I think I think that's incredible.
My whole goal with the blog, I mean, it used to be just to chronicle things I did. So, when I turned my age that I am now, I wouldn't forget everything that I did. And, but I like to share like what happened while I was there and the feeling that I had while I was there. I think that started with like not a lot of confidence in my photo taking. So I would put a lot of dialogue and narrative with just about everything that I did so people would get it. And so, yeah. And now I just write in hopes to inspire other people to go to these places. And I try to connect with the people in the area and stuff and let them know that I'm going to be talking about them on my blog and sharing with others, and hopefully other people get to experience the same things that I do. So,
yeah. Thank you, AD. And then also thecreators.com over on Patreon. You can go there, and if you're a patron, you can give AD some ideas. Hey, I'd like to see you, maybe that thing you talked about, infrared. I don't know, you still shoot infrared, don't you?
Yes. Yep.
If you're wondering, hey, can you show me how to do infrared? If you're a patron of his, you can request that, and maybe he'll do it in a future video where you can come and watch it live or watch it afterwards. So
yeah, and after Christmas, we'll be rolling back in live streams and producing more videos. Right now, I am on a once in 5 year break. So finally,
you're a busy guy, and it's hey, it's a good time to take a break. So, but go over and check out thecreators.com over on Patreon, and consider becoming a patron. It's not that expensive. You can start from $1, depending on what you're wanting. There's some higher level ones there too. I know for Janice Sullivan, you help her produce her show.
Yeah, she does. Yep, she has her own teaching that she does in macro photography, and Janice Sullivan was a student of mine, and she's a film and art major and from California, and she specializes in macro and micro photography, and she has the macro photography live chat show that we do. And I basically, just like you, Mike, I produce a show for her. And I don't appear on the show, although I am appearing on the show, the next show that we do, I think, one after the next.
Okay.
December 20th, Janice and I are finally going to appear on the show together, and we're going to be wearing Christmas hats and being silly and having a Christmas party with everybody. So I'll be announcing that on the Patreon page, and that'll be open to everybody. You don't have to be a member of Patreon to do that. But yeah, I mean, if you have ideas, like maybe you want to, like, how can I sell my photos, or what are the first steps to doing an art show? How do I make videos for my photos? All of that stuff is what I specialize in. So, and on top of that, I'm also there if you want to ring me up and say, man, I'm not feeling creative today. What can I do, or what can I do to fix this photo and to help me get over this roadblock? That's basically what I do, is open up my world to everyone else. I do not push people. I do not. I'm not a person who's like, what are you doing today? What have you done this? I'm not that person.
It's your own pace, huh?
You got to go at your own pace. And I look for people who want to learn, who are bitten by the bug. I know all of my life, when I've wanted to learn something, it's been like an infection with me, and I can't get over it until I learn it. Mm-hmm. So it was like that for guitar and drums and in my music career, and building motorcycles and learning to do that stuff. I was obsessed with everything. When I want to learn it, I'm obsessed with it, and I've got to learn it. And so that's what a lot of people struggle with roadblocks in that obsession. So I try to help those that are obsessed reach their goals. That's basically, I guess, I've never had to explain it, so I guess that's as good as I can do. So.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you, AD. Thank you for everybody coming out live on Facebook and on YouTube. And we'll be back next week, I guess. Right? We'll be back next week doing the October. So we're going to try and do the October ones, October and November, in a single show. So one October show, one November show.
There you
Instead
go.
of the part 1, part 2 thing, and sometimes even part 3. But until next week, keep shooting. Good night, everybody.
Good night.